I'm still Draco self-important, and you should still listen to me. So let's backtrack a little on my religious journey. Or actually, yeah. So let's backtrack from the ghost back to high school. So after this group of, uh, I would say, overly Christian kids who had me sneaking off to do shit. Um, I met a kid who was a Satanist. We were talking Anton LaVey classic Church of Satan Satanism. Um, he lent me his copy of the Satanic Bible. I read it and I took it back to him and I said, I don't have the ego to be a Satanist, bro. And that was the one thing that I do like about LaVey style Satanism is essentially the only like moral is don't lie, do whatever. Like if you, but you better be able to stand up for it. And I mean, to be fair, that is kind of how I live my life. Like if I'm gonna do some shit, I'm gonna be able to stand up for it and be like, "Yep, I did that," and um, I have made it a point to not say anything behind someone's back that I would not say to their face. Would I necessarily say it to their face voluntarily? No, I'm not going to be a dick to people all the time, but like if pressed, yeah, So, it leads to less conflict, that's for sure. Because if you're willing to stand up for yourself, people, I don't know. Um, so there was that, right? So I tried to be like, maybe I'll be a Satanist. That didn't work out. Um, I don't know, man. So then while talking to the friend with the schizophrenic girlfriend that I referred to in the previous story, when talking about friends of weird family inbreeding, um, he was the one actually who was like, I was explaining to him what I believed at one point when I was like, I don't know, 20. I had no, maybe 21, 2021, somewhere in there. And he was like, that sounds like pantheism. And I was like, oh. And so that is how I came upon that. And I mean, it's definitely an identity that I had for a while. Maybe I was going I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it had to have been because I think it was when I was like 20. And I held that, but like, I literally, like, genuinely cannot remember when I became an atheist. That's so weird. Oh, trauma brain. Oh my god. Like, cause I'm sure I had to have like had conversations about it and shit. Like, there had to have been like, and just wow. Um. So I was an atheist for quite a while. Um. I do remember like prior to becoming a pantheist when I was in college the first time because I got an associate's degree and then went out into the working world and then went back and got my bachelor's. Um, yeah, I got my associates in 2001 and my bachelor's in 2007, so there was working in between there. Um, but I took a a religions of the world class, and like that, I learned about the big ones, right? Your Judaism, Hinduism, fucking Buddhism, Islam, etc., right? So like, you covered the big ones. We got into some niche things, smaller, tribal, whatever. But like, it gave me a better idea of like, the rest of the world, having been raised among pretty much nothing but Christians and like three Jews who I knew nothing about their religion whatsoever. Everything I knew about Judaism, I knew because I'm a fan of stand-up comedy. And let me tell you, Jewish guilt and Catholic guilt are like different sides of the same coin. And so I relate a lot to the way that I hear Jewish people talk about being parented. So I'm like, hey, like, yeah, Jewish guilt and Catholic guilt are kissing cousins. Haha, see, it's a theme. I just keep going back. Uh, to be clear, I don't even talk to any of my cousins, let alone kiss them. So, uh, those guys are assholes. I wouldn't want to hug them. What am I saying? Actually, I don't know. I actually haven't talked to most of my cousins in so long. I have no idea. Like, no clue. Um, yeah, considering their proximity to the rest of my family, however, I don't know, man. Did somebody put some lead in the water in Pennsylvania or something? Because, like, when I grew up, it was a blue state. Like, real heavy Union presence. Like, I don't what the fuck happened, man? Jesus. Not the Democrats are great. I am a radical leftist. I am way more left of anyone that is in office in this country. I'm left of Bernie. All right, like I am lefty McLeft left. Um, yeah, like I'm eat the rich left. Uh, so like, but if I have to pick, like for other people, I know not everyone is going to go as left as I am. So if you could just not like Donald Trump, that's a first step for me, and then we can get you from there. Because if you genuinely think that man is a good person, I have very little hope for you as a human, and I think there's something very, very wrong with you. Like, genuinely. Like, for realsies, like, I want to say I'm sorry because I understand that that's like not like a chill thing to say, but I do not understand how one can live in this country and have been exposed to all of the shit that he's done and said and backtracked and lied and all of the accounts of the sexual assault and all like and be like, he's chill. How? Like, I don't like Joe Biden. Did I vote for him? Yep. Because what the fuck, like, what was my choice? To vote for no one and then let Trump do the shit, whatever. This is not about that. That can be a conversation for a different time. So, I read a lot of like random religious shit on my own time. Things that were recommended. I read The Tao of Pooh and the Day of Piglet, which I highly recommend. It's explains Taoism and using Winnie the Pooh as like analogies, and Pooh is the uncarved block. He is Pooh. He is. Yeah. I'm not going to try to explain Taoism. It's been a bajillion years since I've read those or any other books on Taoism because those aren't the only books I've read. But yeah, I am not a Taoist, but it's neat. When I was at Evergreen, I took a dialectical debate class taught by a former Tibetan monk. That was fucking awesome. Because literally all they do is debate all day. They like garden and get food from the villagers and then argue with each other all day. It's great. But it makes for really quick, really sharp minds. And like, at this point, I got real questions about the Dalai Lama, like for real, for real. Like, I don't. To be fair, if you're raised by a culture that takes like a 6-year-old boy and goes, "You're God, come live with us," I like that can't lead to good things. But the Dalai Lama has written scientific text, incredibly well studied. It comes back to one of those separate the art from the artist things. Like Gandhi slept in bed with 14-year-old girls, but like Gandhi did some good shit. Like we can't talk about Martin Luther King Jr.'s marriage life and have that be chill. Like, you know, people who do good things also do bad things because people are complex. But oh shit, who the hell was I talking about? Oh god, I lost the plot. It wasn't Gandhi. It was someone else. Shit. Oh god, this is a bad pothole. I literally don't remember. Anyway, dialectical debate class. I considered Buddhism at that point. I assume I'll come back to whatever it was I was talking about before. I'm sorry, this is how my brain works. Hello, memory loss. Hi. I'm a disabled person. Um, so the thing about Dalai Lama. Hey, I remember. There was I remember specifically it was from a book he wrote called "The Molecules of Emotion," and basically I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote, but it was if scientific truth disproves a religious text, we have to accept the truth as we see it before our eyes. Like, and from my understanding, like things have been amended as far as the belief system goes based on like reality around them, which is chill. But like when I actually thought about like practicing Buddhism as a religion and you really look into it, it's there's misogyny there, and there's like literally every fucking religion is misogynist. Like when I first found out about Hinduism, I'm like, this is super neat, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they hate women too. Like there's and I mean, as someone who when I was exploring all of these things thought I was a fucking woman, that was particularly a bummer. But even now it's like, well, one, none of these fucking religions would see me as a man. I don't know, maybe Buddhism, I don't know their particular stance on the transes. We are pretty scientifically backed, so maybe they're chill. I haven't looked into it. I don't really care. Um, but like, I I sat through lectures from different like religious leaders. There was a class that we took, or that I took at Evergreen, that, part of it we were trying to understand different religions, and we had like a Christian come in, a pastor and a rabbi, and an imam. And then we had my teacher from said other class come in to talk about Buddhism and like, so it's like, uh, I I wanted to have a good idea of like what people believed, and I still do, like what people believe, what's going on around me, but like none of it ever really stuck. Um, and then when I met my brother, he was a member of the Satanic Temple, and that was something that really made sense to me at the time because it was, I mean, essentially the tenets are like bodily autonomy, and like I don't even know. I'm not gonna preach their shit. But it was atheist like religion, basically like it was presented more as a political advocacy group that happened to share beliefs. Like it was, hey, people who aren't religious should get the same protections that people who are religious get, so we're going to band together as like non-religious people and form our own religion. Um, I can't talk about that much because they're literally suing me. So like what I can say is that I put my entire being into that organization. And I absolutely loved the people that I spent time with. When we, would participate in ceremonies or what, like, I put my full chest into it, man. And the way that the shit went down was, ooh, doggy. Yeah. Someday we'll talk about that. Someday we'll talk about that in detail. But we're still waiting for a counterclaim at the moment. Uh, yeah. Do you notice how I can't talk about this? But we're waiting for an anti-slap claim from them. Right. Dude literally said on Twitter, their lawyer, that he was going to bleed us dry financially. Like, that's public. That's not a thing that I'm just like, that happened on Twitter in public for everyone to see. But we okay. Mm-hmm. So 2020 was when I was booted from the Satanic Temple. Actually, I took my ball and went home. Uh, however, I still considered myself, and maybe still do, to be a Satanist, in that what Satanism has always meant to me was a rejection of the powers that be that wrongly control all of the things in my existence. And most of those things in my particular culture are stemmed from Christianity. And it makes it very difficult to look at Christianity as anything other than the problem. And like logically, I know because I have in my life Christians who are reasonable humans. Shit, there are content creators there like Wendigoon. I was mentioning before, like watching different content creators who like break down biblical shit. Wendigoon breaks down some shit. Like that man has explained some things about the Bible to me in ways that have made more sense, like whiteboards involved. Like, he will break down books of the Bible the same way he will break down the JFK assassination, and meticulously is the answer to both of those, and in a way that, at least to me, is incredibly entertaining. The dude puts out videos that are 3 hours plus on a regular basis, and I'm glued to it regardless of what it is. And most of the time, oh my god, he recently did this video on Uzumaki. It's Junji Ito. I cannot Ito, right? Fuck, I can't remember the dude's name. It's Junji Ito. I'm almost certain. Um, but Uzumaki, which literally like translates to spiral, because Uzu is spiral and Maki is also spiral. So it's like um, really good manga. It's available online. I got a coloring book. It's a really awesome coloring book. I'm gonna color the whole thing, and it's gonna be awesome. And I'm putting like way too much work into each page. I'm trying to make them each little works of art. But yeah, it took like 3 hours plus, it might have been four, going through his interpretation of every single bit of every single chapter. And like, the thing is, you can watch him do that and like break down everything and then still want to go consume the actual media because it still sounds so interesting that you're like, I want to see that. Like, like it's just, um, I don't want to read the Bible after watching it, however, because I understand that actually reading the Bible is not something like it's not written for the modern reader. I mean, that's just is probably translated a couple of times by the time it gets to me, and it's not great. So having someone explain it is good. Um, but like, having in this country Christians be the driving force for, and evangelical Christians specifically, for, wanting my annihilation. When someone comes at me, with "Hi, I'm a Christian," I'm like, as a like leading feature, that worries me. Like, I know, I don't know, man. Like, I think it happens more in Catholicism than it does in other forms of Christianity, but it definitely happens in Judaism. The like being culturally religious, like, the being culturally Catholic, you show up to the shit, but you don't actually believe any of it. I'm sure there are other forms of Christianity that do that, but the Catholic guilt, it's ingrained real hard. Like, that's, I don't know. At least, I wonder if it still is common because, like, I'm thinking of like 20 years ago and people who were, in their 20s when I was in my 20s, and like, maybe people don't do that anymore. Maybe people don't give a shit now. Maybe they're like, fuck it, I'm over it, which would be nice to just believe what you believe. Um, but like, this leaves us in 2020, and actually, in 2020, before leaving the temple, um, it was the first time I did mushrooms. And it was actually a fellow member of the temple who provided them because they cultivated them, um, and they use them themselves for depression treatment. And that's what I was like. I was so cripplingly depressed that I was willing to try absolutely anything. Because, I mean, shit, when I was 16 years old, I had a dude that I was dating offer me mushrooms, and I was like, no, thank you. And then he tried to like pressure me and get weird about it, and I'm like, well, I guess no thank you for hanging out with you anymore. So like, really genuinely, like, that was never a thing that I wanted to do until it was like, hey, you might not be so sad if you do. And then there were like studies, and I was like, oh shit. All right, let's give it a go. How bad can it be? Um, and so like I did it when my ex, or at the time wife, was home, and so like I had a babysitter, um, and it was great, and like there was like a carryover effect, and for me, mushrooms are like therapy. Like anytime I do mushrooms, there will be something in my head that I have buried, and I will dig it out and cry it out, and like I'm trying to learn to do that without having to have the chemical to take down the barrier, like because I live with a constant mask, like as someone who for sure has ADHD, probably autism, but even if it's not, the CPTSD makes me like I have to mask who I am all the time. The person that I present in public is a totally different human being to the person you get. Like like I this is pretty spot on. I don't generally ramble uninterrupted for an hour at a time. Usually people engage in the conversation with me, but hey, if I can get 50 subscribers, I can do live streams, and then I can engage in conversation with anyone who actually gives a shit. Not that anyone necessarily does. Um, oh, excuse me. So, it was a generally positive experience. And then it was something that I had friends who could, get for me even after the Satanic Temple thing blew up. Oh, if we want to call back to the story I told about the partner who disappeared on me for like 12 hours, and I know that's not enough time, but go listen to the story, it'll make sense. That I had go check on them. This was the same person that provided me with my first batch of mushrooms, which they were nice enough to grind up into a nice little powder and give me a little card with instructions on how to mix it into tea. Uh, so that was nice. But yeah, generally well-meaning person, but I think everyone in that group overreacted to everything all the time, no matter what it was. And yeah, that it really, yeah. Mm, mm. It's really a bummer because I really, 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 really was committed to that organization. But whatever. Um, yeah. So after the implosion of my marriage and my like trying to get my own shit together, there would be times that I would not have kids in the house because they would be with other parents, and so I'd be like, it'd be awesome some mushrooms. Um, and we get to the part that is the religious experience, spiritual, religious, whatever, the drug induced delusion, right? Let's be honest about what's at, but felt pretty real, right? Um, I, no joke, thought I was speaking to the earth, and that the earth was translating for the universe, and they were explaining to me that the earth and the universe and all the other universes are sentient beings, and that we are basically just like bacteria on them, just like we have little bacteria on us, and that like we're all in tune, and when you take the mushrooms, that lets you tap into the mycelial network, and that's how all of the things, and that's why different animals also will like eat the mushrooms, and that's why people see all the same shit and hear all the same shit when they're on mushrooms and blah blah. Like, this shit felt so fucking real that like at the time I fully was like, yes, this is like, at the time I was not like, oh my god, you're in the middle of a delusion kind of, because I was on drugs. uh, like, um to be clear, this is like, yeah. um but on the other hand, it's like, well, the trope about the asshole who does mushrooms and makes it everybody else's problem is a thing, because like this happens to like everyone, and it's all kind of like, not everyone literally, but you know what I mean. So it's like, well, that's literally what I believed to begin with, and talked myself out of somewhere along the way, right? Like, the sentience of it all was not necessarily how I had conceived it, but like, I literally conceived but the like, well, no, I guess I kind of did. I think the talking myself out of the sentience was how I talked myself the whole way into atheism. Um, but I still kind of think it's stupid. Like, I'm judgmental of myself here. Like, and I don't know, man. Like, it just seems like such egotistical bullshit to be like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's egotistical bullshit to think that there isn't anything bigger. I don't know. But like, I said to my partner the other day that I was happier when I was pantheist. And I don't know if that's because I was a pantheist or just because I hadn't gone through as much trauma yet. And like, most of the time that I was a pantheist was when I had just escaped the first marriage. And I say escaped because, dude, that dude trapped me. He switched it up. As soon as those papers were signed, his personality was like flip. I'm like, bro, like, did you think that I like the paperwork was like that binding? That like your mother's been divorced twice. My dad's been divorced twice. My mother went like, come on, bro. You know that we both understand the divorce is an option here. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? Um, yeah. So like, I don't know, man. People like talk about like a leap of faith and like you have to choose to believe and like, but like, I'm gonna choose to believe my own shit that I kind of made up. Like, yeah, pantheism is a thing, but like, I'm gonna choose to believe the mushroom delusion. Like, what are we doing here? It just feels like confirmation bias. Like, but like, would I be more fulfilled if I, like? And then the other thing is like, I keep having all these dreams about my brother, and all these weird like dreams that keep happening, like same place, same scenario, like, and it's like, well, what if there is some sort of multiverse? What if there is an afterlife? What if this is all a simulation? What if? Because, like, none of those things are any more or less probable, are they? I mean, I don't know. Like, when we're talking about things that are all fucking hypotheses and unprovable, and, you start getting into the, like, everything in the universe has happened like, I don't know, man. Like, we don't fucking know. Like, I don't know. So why am I acting like I know? Like, if I can hear someone say that if we might all be living in a simulation, and be like, like none of it is any more ridiculous because it's all bananas and it's all just people trying to like make up their like, no one actually knows. And I think that's my problem, is like purporting to believe something and not like having any actual evidence other than my own experience. Like, it just that's not how I generally form my beliefs. I like empirical evidence. Like, can I have some numbers, please? A peer review, some longevity. How many people were in the study? You know what I mean? Like, and when we're talking about shit that like, at this point, like, there's no measurable, I don't fucking know. So then how do you carve out a belief system based on I don't fucking know? How do you be spiritual based on I don't fucking know? Because at this point, it's not even the community that I'm looking for. Because, like, the Satanic Temple, I mean, for real, like, 90% of that was wanting to hang out with other people who thought like I thought, because that's not something that I ever got to experience. And then I kind of did, but most of those people were fake as fuck, and when the shit hit the fan, we're gone. So, we're not just gone, but ready to paint me as a fucking abuser, and oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. The ex wife, when she left in a fit, said something about leaving an abusive relationship on Facebook. Never had a conversation with any of these people. They knew none of the details of anything. And they all decided that I was an abuser and they were going to, like, I don't even talk to the people that I'm being sued with because they cut me out after all. And I'm like, did you even talk to my ex wife? Well, no. And then I talked to her and I'm like, what? And she's like, I don't fucking know. I didn't talk to them. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me that all of this is based on that one Facebook post? And she even like posted again later to be like, hey, bro, like I didn't really like, didn't matter. Because they'd heard the word abusive once. We were in an incredibly codependent, incredibly toxic relationship. And, you know, I'm not gonna get into the who did what first, but my God, we were both monsters. I will take responsibility for my fucking bad actions. Like, I do not think it happened in a vacuum, and I do not think that that is my general practice in relationships, but, you know, I wasn't great. I was a name calling, yelly. You know. So, like, am I a pantheist? Was I always a pantheist? Did I come to this conclusion very young and, like, piss it away? Like, is it all just foolish? I don't know, man. I can't reconcile it. I, I can't. I am the sort of person who will totally look to someone who knows more than me because I know about lots of things that lots of people do. And in this case, who the fuck do I look to? Hmm. What do you guys think? At any rate, I love you. Be safe. Make good choices.